Good afternoon, everyone. So I wanted to make this video because this last couple of weeks I've been working with a lot of your kids and I've been getting a lot of feedback and questions from the parents as I work with you, all of you. And I figured it would be easier if I made a video and kind of showed you certain things that we do. So the first question that I've had a lot is about getting structure into your child's day, because I understand that all of us are home. It's a big change for our children to not be able to go to school. It's a completely different routine, and children with autism often thrive on the structure and the routine. So sometimes it's really difficult for them when the routine is changed and disrupted. So a lot of you have shared that you are struggling with that and would like some help in that matter. And I totally understand and agree. I am a parent. I understand that um, it is impossible to have a structure at home like we have at school for two reasons. First off, you have several other duties at home. You may have other kids, there are other chores you've got to finish. So unlike the teacher who's there to teach your child the entire time, you are trying to fit this in addition to all other things that you're doing. I totally understand that. And um, and I assure you that you don't need to have a structure to the day that says this is the exact time that this thing happens. I mean, everything doesn't have to run like clockwork. When we say structure and routine, even if we can just get it for like a rough routine to the day, that helps your child understand what follows what. It will still be um, a lot of help for your child to have basic understanding of what his day looks like. I'll give you an example. For example, if I want my child to practice writing his letters, rather than doing it all different times in my day, I can make an effort, or I can at least try to do it every day after breakfast, right? So it's not a big change. It doesn't have to have like a timetable. It doesn't have to be very stringent, but you know that it follows breakfast every day. So that's a consistent routine. So every day after we eat our cereal or eggs or whatever we're having for our breakfast, we sit down and we practice our letters. You're going to see a lot more willingness from your child to work because it's more structured. They know when to expect it. And it will work even better if they know that something more fun is attached at the end, right? So when I work with your kids at school, I use, and I already shared this on the Class Dojo, I think, but if you haven't seen it, this is the magic tool that I use. It's called the First Then Visual, and you don't have to have a printer like you see here. I've just written the words, right? And all I do is I will show them the pen, which signifies that they're going to be writing letters, and then could be whatever they like to do. So first write, then iPad, first write, then toys, first write, then whatever show they like to watch, right? So that's the basic idea. You get the basic idea. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is I will typically keep this on the table. I will keep this on the table as a reminder for when my child gets distracted. So every time the child gets off task, which they will, I will go back to this and say, first work, then toys. So then that's a reminder for them to bring back their attention to the task that they're doing. So that's one other thing that I do. So the first thing we said was just having like a roughly consistent time for when you expect the task. Second thing is having like a first then and a reward attached to the end. And the third thing I wanted to share was just breaking down anything that you're asking your child to do. Think of how can you break it down into smaller pieces, right? Like for most of us, we don't think of things in those terms. For us, toothbrushing is one action, right? I brush my teeth in the morning. That's one action that I do, right? But if you really think about it, this is a visual of, I hope everybody can see it, but of 11 steps that we all do in order to complete that one task of toothbrushing. And I will read out some of those if you weren't able to see those. But collecting supplies, wetting toothbrush, removing lid, squeezing the toothpaste on the brush, brushing the front teeth, brushing the back teeth, brushing the bottom teeth, rinsing them out with water, spitting out, rinsing the toothbrush. So those were all the steps that were required for the toothbrushing task, right? So what breaking down the task will help you do is, first off, it will make it simpler for you to teach those to your child. Because say, for example, let me look at it and see. The first one is getting your toothbrush. Is my child able to get his toothbrush himself, right? Can he pick it up himself? Okay, that's great. If he can, if not, that's something I want to work on this week. I'm not going to expect him to brush his teeth independently, but I want to build little chunks of things towards that. And so that would be my first step, would be every day I'm just going to work on him getting the toothbrush to me, right? Or the second step, wetting your toothbrush. Can they use the faucet to turn water on and off, right? If they can, great, let's move to the next step. But if they can't, then let's work on that. Maybe that's the goal for the next couple of weeks. And keep in mind, it could take them a long time to master each step and finally get to it. And it might feel like a long, long task, but the end will be worth it because it's going to lead to independence. Eventually, they're going to be able to do those things independently. So, so that's the other thing I wanted to share was, and this is, if you struggle with figuring out how to break down any task, please reach out to your child's teacher, to the OT, to the speech person, whoever is on the IEP support team, because they can help you with those tasks breaking down and work with you to have a plan for how you can work on those little steps. The other thing is also with the expectation of, when you show them the visual or when you break down the task, because if I see 10 pictures in front of me, I might feel really overwhelmed. So rather than that, if I have one picture, it's going to make me feel much better. So as a child, if you think from your child's perspective, breaking those tasks down is important, but also introducing it to them in little pieces is really important. So it's not very overwhelming. So for example, if I'm working with them on their writing letters, I don't want to just write A through Z and give it to them and say, start writing A through Z, because that's just going to be like, oh my gosh, no. I mean, it's very overwhelming for a child to think I have to write all that. There's no way I'm doing this, right? So a lot of times I will start with one letter at a time. I make letter A, then I hand the pen to you and say, your turn. And then the child makes it. Then I give him the other letter, letter B, your turn. And that may actually help me get better results, because a lot of times showing them the whole task is just overwhelming for the child. So kind of breaking it down, but also kind of presenting them the little pieces that they feel more confident and comfortable handling. Because when they look at a letter, they're like, okay, I can handle that. And then we introduce a little bit more. Like today, you can do 2, right? So once they get more comfortable, you can build on that. But I hope some of those tips are useful. Please do reach out with your questions and anything that's concerning, anything that we can do to help, because that's what I'm here for. Um, and do give me a feedback on whether this was helpful. So have a great day, stay safe, and take care.